What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mo Tech Sales. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to get prepared for a tech sales interview. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to check out my part 1 to this video where I talk about how to actually get into tech sales. This video is going to be more so when you actually start getting interviews and how to actually prepare for an interview in order to be the company's top pick. So how do you get chose and how do you get job offers? Mainly, most of it has to do with how you are interviewing. Now, you've already done all this hard work by taking the course, getting your LinkedIn optimized, getting educated, and actually going out there and applying for jobs effectively. Now, in this video, I want to talk about how to actually kill your interview, how to knock your interview right out the park. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Also, if you have not already, make sure that you do check out the course Careers. That's the course that helped me get into tech sales. And it's the course that if you want to get into tech sales, you definitely want to take this course. Now, if you go through my affiliate link, you do get $50 off of your purchase, which in today's economy, $50 can go a long way when you're trying to take a course and get certified. So, and then along with that, once you get that course, please reach out to me directly. The best way to reach out to me is on LinkedIn, and I can be there for you, and I'll be your coach. I'll give you guidance and all that good stuff, but make sure you check that out. I also went ahead and left spin selling in the description along with the 11 questions that the interviewer will most likely ask you, along with about 10 questions that you can ask the interviewer, because the interview is actually a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street, which I talk about in this video as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into how to get prepared for a tech sales interview. Let's go. How to prepare for a tech sales job interview. This will put you ahead of the competition. Overview. Mindset. Mindset is important. That's why I always put it first. How to effectively communicate. Conversational tips. What the hiring managers are looking for. What the tech sales interview process looks like. So I'm going to be talking about all the rounds, round 1, 2, 3, 4. How to answer questions using the STAR method. That's going to help you with being concise and getting to the point. 11 tech sales interview questions and a bonus tip. And also, guys, I'm going to put down below in the description questions that you can ask the interviewer as well, because interviews are meant to be two-way, not just one. Okay, mindset. Come from a place of value. Guys, mindset is important. There's so many candidates that are not coming from a place of value. They're coming from a place of how can the company benefit them. And the moment that a interviewer or a employer sees that, hey, this person just wants to know how much money they can make and how much PTO, and they just don't care about the mission. They don't care about what they're selling. They just want to make money, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to want more than just making money, guys. So you need to know what you bring to the table. How can they get a positive return on their investment? Are you going to be an expense for the company? Or are you going to be a profit generator? Are you going to be a revenue generator? That's what they want to know. You got to remember, the interviewers are interviewing hundreds, sometimes thousands of candidates, right? You're competing against so many people you don't even realize. And they're looking to hire the people that bring the most value. And that's facts. So keep that in mind. So if you're not going into these interviews prepared, you're losing. Do yourself a service by making sure you know what the company is, you know what they sell, you know the mission statement. At least that's the bare minimum, guys. So come from a place of value and knowing why you want to work for the company. What can you bring? What do you bring to the table? How can they benefit from hiring you? Right? Mindset. Also, I want to talk about the fact that you are going to hear more no's than you are yeses. Just because you get an interview does not mean that you get the job offer, right? It's a process. It's a process. So don't get it too ahead of yourself. Just because, you know, the hiring manager wants to have an interview with you doesn't mean, oh, I already got the job, right? You always want to make sure that you prepare. Always prepare, always prepare, always be preparing. Next, how to effectively communicate. All these are very, very important, so make sure that you write them down because not being able to effectively communicate, guys, has hurt so many people and is the reason why a lot of people are not getting the jobs that they want. It's simply because they don't know how to effectively communicate. And this is pretty much sales right here. Being able to get your point across, being able to speak with clarity, being able to be confident and assertive with how you are communicating. So speak with clarity. Limit your filler words. So what are filler words? Filler words are like, so minimize those. I'm guilty of it. Before I was aware of this, I would say, like a lot. And it just was killing my interviews. So what I did was I would record myself answering tech sales interview questions and counting how many times I would say like, though, so make sure you do the same thing and also listen to your your tonality, your pitch, how you're saying things, and learn, like, just improve, just get better. Also, confidence. Speak with confidence. Now, that's not about pulling your dick, putting your dick on the table and having a dick measuring contest. No, they don't like that. Being confident is pretty much saying your skill sets, right? But you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm better than everybody else. I'm better. I'm just better. Blah 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 blah. Hire me." That's not confidence, guys. That's cockiness. Confidence is being clear, speaking concisely, but listening more than you're talking. And you may think, well, they're interviewing me, so what do you mean? Like, listen more than I talk? Yes, because sales is more so listening. Listen to what they have to say. And when you're listening, if you're effectively listening, you'll be able to start asking engaging questions. You'll start being able to ask assumption questions. So, for example, on my interviews, whoever was interviewing me, I would always ask, "Hey, how do you like being like how do you like working at this job? What made you pick this job over all the other opportunities? Why this position?" Things like that. What's some advice that you would give an aspiring sales development representative? So these are engaging questions. And assumption questions is pretty much saying, like, if they say, "Hey, I wanted to work for this company because they have really good work-life balance and I'm able to go to my kid's soccer game and not have to worry about being on the clock." Okay, so it seems like, that's assumption, it seems like you really enjoy working here though. Yeah, I actually do. Boom. Don't don't interject to talk about yourself. I know it's weird because they're interviewing you. Yes, they're interviewing you. Whoop-de-doo. They interview a lot of people. But what will make you stand out is if you begin to interview them as well and you let them talk and you don't just talk about yourselves. Because sales is not about, oh, your product, da 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 da. No, it's about the person that you're trying to sell to. It's all about them. It's all about how can they solve their problem, right? So the interviewers are looking to build maybe their sales team. Why? Why? Because they want to get more sales for the company. They want to generate more revenue. That's what they're looking for. So how can you solve their problem, right? So you don't find that out until you let them speak, until you let them talk. All right, moving on to the conversational tips. If you don't know something, please admit that you don't know. So let's say, for example, and this is why it's important to take the course careers course, because if you're going on tech sales interviews and you don't have any tech sales experience, they're going to ask you, do you know what Salesforce is? Do you tell me what a sales cadence is? How would you build up your pipeline? If you don't know and you wing it, they're going to be able to tell that you don't know. So do yourself a favor and just say, hey, I don't know what a sales cadence is. I don't know what a buyer's persona is. When you do that, they're going to appreciate that way more than you just saying, oh yeah, I know what it is. Well, okay, tell me what a buyer's persona is. Yeah, it's somebody that buys personas. It's like, no. Tell me what Salesforce is. Oh, yeah. It's a software that helps you build websites. Like, no. Just say that you don't know. And then also look for social cues. This is tricky. You kind of want to mirror what they're talking about, what they're saying, and become more likable. So, and then know about things the person you're talking about or talking to cares about. Jeez. Know about the things the person you're talking to cares about. So you may need to do a little LinkedIn stalking, right? When you know who your interviewer is, because you'll get the email saying, hey, on this day, you're going to be interviewing with Carrie, Carrie Lewis. What I would personally do was actually look up that person that I'm interviewing with on LinkedIn and just see where they're from, see their past business, their past job experiences, read their profile description and get a good feel of, who they are, what they like to do, what their professional background is in. And I would talk about that during my interview. I would bring it up like, hey, how's the weather like in Austin, Texas? Oh yeah, it's pretty good out here. Okay, how long have you been living out there? Oh, I've been living out there for a couple years. I enjoy it. That's awesome. Boom. Then they're like, oh, this person actually knows that I live in Austin. That's cool. It just shows that you care. What are the hiring managers looking for? What are they looking for? This is something that a lot of people don't think about because a lot of candidates come to interview thinking one way. You need to be thinking two-way. So think about what you're looking for as well as what the company's looking for. So they want to see that you have communication skills. Hence, that's why I was talking about how to effectively communicate. They want to see that you're able to articulate yourself. They want to see that you know how to get to point A and point to point B. They want to see that you're confident and that you're convincing because going on interviews is all about selling yourself. So the more you're able to communicate effectively, the more they're going to be able to really view you as somebody of value. Next, motivation and resilience. Now, this is kind of hard to gauge. They will ask you what's your why you started. Give me a time where you failed and you were able to come back from that failure. This is where you're able to demonstrate that motivation, that resilience, that grit, that dog in you. You need that dog in you if you're going to do sales. If you're going to be successful at sales because it's a grind. It's a grind. So they want to see that. And I'm going to be talking about those questions later on. Again, I do have the 11 question template document. Share the link. Go ahead and check that out. Write them down. Practice them. Go on mock interviews. What's your motivation? Are you resilient? What's your why? So these are things to think about. There's tons of whys. Like one of my whys was to make a lot of money, be happy, healthy, and be in a lucrative business opportunity. Be able to provide for my family. Be able to go on vacations when I want it, and still get paid. So everybody's motivation is a little different. Find out what your motivation is. And are you resilient? Resilience is having that drive to get up and get back on your feet when you fall. How do you bounce back from adversity? Adversity builds character. How do you overcome obstacles? What's your mindset? Do you get mad if somebody says, "Hey, I'm not interested in your product or service. Get the hell off my phone." Does that just mess up your whole entire day? Or do you just brush it off and keep it pushing? How do you go about protecting your attitude? Do you let outside circumstances determine how your day is going to be? They want to know all that, man, and they're going to be able to really gauge that. Sell skills. Sell skills. How good are you at selling something? They want to hear your past experiences. Did you hit quota? If you have no past experiences, have you taken action to learn about sales skills? Guys, if you don't have any sales skills, I highly recommend going to a boot camp and learning about sales, um, learning about prospecting, learning about asking qualifying questions, discovery questions. So like I said, if you have not already, if you don't have any sales skills, make sure you click the link down below and take the free Course Careers with Tech Sales. And then if you want to get certified in it, they do have a paid version that will go more in depth to things that you need that will help you, that count as experience, that count as education. They love to see it. Sales skills. Are you able to hit your quota? Are you booking appointments? If you're going for like an account executive, that's not an entry level. That's like, kind of advanced level. They want to know if you're able to close deals if you're going for account executive. For sales development representative, they want to hear you pitch the company, the product. They may want you to do a cold email sequence, or they may want you to do a presentation about the product or service and have a whole discovery call ready. I know I went on a job interview for, I think it was Cloudflare. They wanted, or CrowdStrike. They wanted me to do that. So something to keep in mind. Knowledge of technology and tools. If you do not have any knowledge over Salesforce, HubSpot, SalesLoft, you need to get knowledge. You need to at least know what these things are. You at least need to get the free version and play around in it, because they're going to ask you if you have experience with it and what these tools are. Again, Course Careers will teach you what these tools are. They'll teach you how to use them. So make sure that you're knowledgeable about Salesforce, SalesLoft, and HubSpot. Teamwork and collaboration. Sales is a teamwork. I know it's competitive, but it's all in good spirit. At least the experiences that I have, we're all working to a common goal, which is to generate more revenue. So especially with the company that I work for, I'm a sales development representative. So my job is to take a lead and pass it, make sure that lead qualifies to be passed to account executive. That takes teamwork. So that takes me communicating with the lead and also communicating with the account executive, figuring out the lead's needs and relaying that back to the account executive, figuring out the lead schedule and matching that up to the account executive schedule. And that all takes teamwork. So they want to know what your teamwork is like and what your collaboration skills are. That's what they're looking for. They're also looking for problem solving and adaptability. How do you overcome obstacles? How do you overcome objections? Are you adaptable? Because when you're in sales, you're going to be working with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different people. Sales is pretty much people skills. It's all about how are you helping that client or lead benefit from their situation. Like, how are you helping them overcome their problems? It's all about problem solving, and you'll get paid big money if you're able to solve difficult problems, guys. The more problems that you're able to sell, the more problems that you're able to solve, the more money that you will make. And that is true. All right, so what does the tech sales interview process look like? All right, let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so that first round interview is normally with the hiring manager or the recruiter. So during this interview, they're going to ask you just basic questions about your background, your knowledge of their company, what your salary expectations are. And the first round interview is not supposed to be difficult. It's a way for the recruiter to gauge your awareness and your competency. They're looking for any red flags, if you know what you're talking about. But if you're just somewhat competent, like if you're actually a real person. So this is not meant to be difficult. Please, a friendly reminder, make sure that you don't try to oversell yourself. That goes back to being cocky. If you're trying to oversell yourself on the first round interview, you're honestly doing too much, because you may want to save that for the second round interview, because the recruiter is just, they don't really, like, their job is to look at people's resumes and see if they would somewhat fit with the company. They don't really know about the day-to-day activities of a sales development representative. They don't really know what all that requires. They just want to see if you're a real person and ask you some questions about your background and what your salary expectations are, and just give you a brief overview of what the company is and what they're looking for. That's it. So make sure that you're doing your homework about the company, and make sure that you know how the company's product or service benefits the marketplace and why you would want to work there. So remember to add value in your why. They may ask you that question. Hey, why do you want to work here? What would you say? Think about that. All right. Why would you want to work for this company? In other words, they're saying, what value do you bring to our company? Okay. So also, please remember to make sure that you close every interview. Make sure that you close every interview. So you may be wondering, so what I would do after every interview, I would say this: are there any concerns I can address right now that would prevent me from moving forward in the interview process? And I would just wait for what they needed to say. Now, this will let me gauge if I'm moving on to the next round. Because I kid you not, every time I was moving on to the next round, the interviewer would say, "No, we're very interested in pushing you through to the next round. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna send you an email. Let me know. Actually, right now, let me know your available times that you're available for a second round interview." That's a green flag. Now, here's a red flag. When I would ask this question, most of the time, well, yeah, because interviewers, they're not really used to being asked this question, so it kind of threw them off. But the ones that were kind of indirectly giving me like a red flag, they would say, "Oh yeah, no, we don't have any concerns. We're gonna get back with you if we do decide to, excuse me, if we do decide to go to move you to the next round." Most of the time they wouldn't move me to the next round. I'll get an interview saying, "Hey, we appreciate you taking the time to interview with us. And unfortunately, we found other candidates that would be a better fit." Right? So this question is so important to ask during every interview process because this will let you really know if you're moving on to the next round or not. Now, there are some interviewers that will just be straightforward. Like, "Hey, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to interview with me today, but we're looking for candidates that have more experience in blah, 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 blah." So this question is so essential to ask. Okay, so the biggest takeaway from the first round interview is they're going to ask you pretty much basic questions about your background, what your salary expectations are, and do you know about the company, like what we sell, what we stand for, things like that. The reason for this interview is just because they're trying to gauge your awareness and point out any potential red flags that will prevent you from not moving on to the next round. So don't do too much. Don't try to oversell yourself. Just answer the questions and ask them questions too. Like, for example, ask them how they like working there. What's some advice they would give to a aspiring sales development representative? How do they stand out amongst the other candidates? And most importantly, always close that interview. Make sure that you close every call with this statement: "Are there any concerns I can address right now that will prevent me from moving on forward in the interview process?" Boom. That's all you need to say. That's going to be able to gauge. Then, if you want to take it a step further, okay, well, what does the next step? What is the next step from here? When am I going to get my next interview? Let's go ahead and schedule that. All right. So the second round interview is when you meet with the sales manager. In this round, expect to have a conversation about your work and experience and how it pertains to the role that you're looking for right now. By this stage, you must know or have some knowledge about the company that you're interviewing for. Please, guys, make sure that you know the company that you're interviewing for. And it doesn't have to be like you know all the technical stuff and all the behind the scenes. No, no. You just need to know the product, the service, their mission statement, right? And what they stand for, what they do. You know, what's their marketplace? What are they selling? Why are they selling it? How does that product or service benefit customers? Okay? So it's a non-negotiable at this time. There are so many candidates that make it to the second round interview with the sales manager and don't even know what they're selling. They don't even know what the company's selling. Do not let that be you. Make sure that you go into the interview knowing what the hell they sell. Okay? um all right, let's see. Also, guys, make sure that you are answering questions using the STAR method. I'm going to be talking about the STAR method later on in this video. The STAR method is just so important because it helps with your conciseness and it gives your answers structure. So, and it tells them that you know how to articulate yourself, you know how to get through a question and answer it effectively. Okay? Don't try to wing this. Don't try to just use your charm. You know, don't try to just use your charm and your charismatic personality to try to win the sales manager over because they're gonna see right through that. Again, the hiring or the sales manager knows sales, and they know when you're bluffing, and they know when you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So if they ask you a question and you really don't know, just say, hey, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn more about this question. I'm willing to learn more about the answer to this question. All right. So make sure that you do that as well. Don't try to just wing it. Come to that interview prepared. Come to that interview to be ready to walk through your resume. And walking through your resume is not about you listing everything that's on your resume. They can see that. Make a story out of your resume. And I'm going to show you how to do that later on in this video as well. And then, again, the hiring manager really wants to see how good you are at getting your point across, how well you're able to articulate yourself. So be sure to speak with confidence and speak clearly, and most importantly, get to the point. You don't need to ramble on and on and on and on, because they're not going to like that, and that's not going to be attractive to them. And quite frankly, you're going for a sales development representative job, and they don't want to hear you just talk about random shit that's not pertaining to the company. They don't want to hear you go on and on and on about how you were the quarterback for your college football team. They don't care. Like, they care, but they don't care. So make sure that you have all your questions and answers written out, and you get to the point. That's it. Also, make sure that you close out this interview. So make sure that you leave the interview knowing what the next steps are. So, like I said, go back to round one with the question that I asked. Are there any concerns I can address now that will prevent me from moving on to the next interview? They'll let you know, like, hey, we enjoyed interviewing you today. We're actually really excited to get you in for a third round interview. And they'll just tell you, like, hey, when are you available? If they're excited about you, it's not going to be a guessing game. If they're not excited about you, it's going to be a guessing game. Sometimes the sales manager will say, hey, yeah, I need to get back with the hiring manager and discuss the other candidates and see if you're going to move on to the next round. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to move on to the next round. Now, if they say, yeah, I'm very interested, I'm very excited in this interview, in your background, and you stand out, and we're interested in moving you to the next interview, boom, that's the green light. Hey, when are you available? That's the green flag. A recap of round two. Round two is essentially you speaking with the sales manager, and they're asking you interview questions to see how well you are at articulating yourself, how clearly you communicate, and how concisely. Do you get to the point? Are you conversational? Remember, friendly reminder, this is a two-way street. This is supposed to be a conversation, a casual conversation. I know. I used to get nervous in interviews. I know there's so many people that get nervous. And they just forget, and they talk fast, and they ramble on and on and on, or they don't talk enough. You got to find that sweet spot. And remember, they're people just like you. Also, do your research about who's interviewing you. Like, for example, my manager now, I looked her up on LinkedIn, and I was able to ask her questions about where she lives in, like, Nebraska. And we talked about Nebraska for a little bit. I had an interview with a lady, she's from Montana. We talked about Montana for a little bit, and it was just, it lightened up the mood. It made me not as nervous. Third round interview. Now, the third round interview is more so with a panel. It's with a panel of people. And the third round interview, it just depends. It depends on the company that you're interviewing for. But sometimes during the third round interview, they actually want you to present something. Like, they want you to either do a mock cold call or a cold email sequence, or even a presentation on the third round. This is normally with other hiring or other sales managers and other top people in the company, right? So this is where you really want to be prepared as well. Of course, you want to be prepared for all of them, all of the interviews, but during the third round interview, that's really where they want to see if you're good at cold call, mock call, and maybe even a presentation. So I know this part is scary to a lot of people, but if you do not have sales experience or tech sales experience, then you need to take course careers. I know I keep on saying that. I know you're tired of me saying that, but course careers will give you the one of the best templates that you can use for a cold call script. One of the best templates that you can use for a cold call email, and it will help you get prepared. So they want to see if you have a deeper understanding of the product or service and how you can make that fit. Like how can you articulate that to the customer and convince them that they're a fit for this product or service. You got to make so pretty much the panels they're acting as like prospects, and they want you to sell them the product. So, and guys, the more you prepare for this, the less nervous that you're going to be. Like, you may be nervous like the first 5 minutes, but once you start talking and you're like, okay, I practice this over and over again, you're going to notice that the panel is going to actually be engaged in what you're saying, and they're going to, if you really prepare for it, they're going to tell you it after you present it, like, hey man, like, I really appreciate that you were prepared for this interview and you actually took the time to practice. We can tell you've been practicing because we're convinced to buy the product or service, and you were good at explaining what the product or service is. So they also want to see if you can ask discovery questions in order to see if your product or service would actually fit or benefit the company. So are you able to pull out their pain points and their struggles that the company is having and place your product or service as the solution to their problems? They want to see that. The way that you practice, you got to practice for it. If you don't know what discovery questions is, if you don't know what all this stuff is, take course careers. They will teach you. They will teach you. I'm also going to leave a link in the description down below to a book called Spin Selling. Spin Selling is very good because it teaches you about discovery questions. It teaches you how to ask them, how to pinpoint somebody's pain points. So they just want to see. They want to see. And this is where your practice, like, they're gonna, if you didn't practice and you wing it, they're gonna be able to tell. If you took the time and you practice, they're going to be able to tell. So do yourself a favor and practice, practice, practice. If you don't have nobody to practice on, hit me up. You can practice on me. Just the more you practice, the better able you're going to be during this interview. You're going to be able to shine. This interview is so crucial. So I remember with my panel interview, I was nervous. They asked me to pitch the product. They asked me to do a cold call. I was able to knock it out the park. So they love to see it. Sometimes at this point, the VP of sales will want to meet with you just to see if you're a culture fit as well. So I know sometimes for the third round interview, it's just you meeting with a VP of sales just to see if you are a culture fit. There's nothing wrong with that. I know for some companies, they save the whole panel interview, the whole presentation, product demo, cold call script for the fourth round, which I'm going to talk about next. But before I leave this slide, remember, the third round interview is most of the time you're meeting with a panel. They want you to present a cold call script or a cold email sequence or even a presentation about the company, about the product or service, and actually doing a discovery call with the presentation. In other cases, it's just you meeting with the VP of sales to see if you're a culture fit. With a third round interview, you want to make sure that you close the interview and ask them. Every round, you want to ask them, are there any concerns that I could address right now that would prevent me from not moving forward in the interview process? What are the next steps from here? What do the next steps look like? They want to hear that. So make sure that you do that with every interview. So we have round 4, the fourth round, depending on the company. For example, the company that I'm working with now, I had 3 interviews. So I know for one company, I was going through the interview process. They had 4 round interviews. So it just depends on the company. It can be either a whole panel of people that you've already interviewed with that want you to present something like a cold call, cold email, or a presentation. Or in some companies, it just depends on how well known they are. They will actually want you to do a whole presentation on top of that and a discovery call. So it just depends. Like with CrowdStrike, they wanted me to do a whole presentation as well as a discovery call with a panel of people that I had already interviewed with. So this would be a great opportunity for you to really demonstrate your expertise and how well you are at articulating yourself to a crowd. So you got to find that sweet spot in being tech savvy and sales savvy and practice. Put in the work. Prep as much as you can. So there are people that know about technology, that know about breaching and cybersecurity on a technical level, and they're very tech savvy. However, they're not sales savvy. They don't know how to use metaphors and analogies and break it down very simply and make it entertaining and engaging for the listeners. Now, sales savvy people, very savvy. They know how to make a crowd listen. However, they may not know what they're talking about. So you want to find that sweet spot. And like I said, for every round interview, make sure that you're closing every stage of that interview. So asking questions like, are there any concerns I could address right now that will prevent me from not moving in the interview process? Next, how to answer questions using the STAR method. The STAR method is so cool because it helps you not ramble on and not get off topic. So STAR technique is situation, task, action, result. Well, actually it's prepare, because you want to listen to the question and think of an event. And then for the situation, you want to describe the event or situation that you were in. The task is to explain the task you had to complete. The action is describe the specific action you took to complete the task. And the result is the close with the result of your efforts. So I'm going to be giving you an example of that in the 11 question document. Very good when you're answering questions like, tell us about a time where you failed and you had to overcome adversity. Or tell us about a time where you had to deal with a difficult customer. Or tell us about a time where you succeeded. So they just want to see how good you are at articulating yourself. All right. So now we've made it to the 11 tech sales interview questions. So let's go ahead and get into that. So this document is going to be down below in the description. I really want to show y'all this and walk through it because it's something that will set you aside from all the other candidates because a lot of the candidates just aren't doing this. They just aren't. But if you do this, you will be more on the top of their radar. So let's go ahead and get into this. 11 questions, 11 sales job interview questions. Right. So let's go ahead and get into this. What's your story? The first three questions is going to be about what your story is, and really think about what your story is and how you're going to communicate that in your interview. Remember that the interviewers are real people with real emotion. So if you can be more relatable, they will be more likely to identify with you. So take time and write down your why, what motivates you. This is your time to really sell yourself and really sell that emotion. So really think about, why do you want to work in sales? And if it's money, be honest. Say, hey, I want to work in sales because I'm very money motivated. Quite honestly, hiring managers and sales managers want to hear that you're sales motivated because, money motivated, because the more money motivated you are, the more likely you are to get sales. And sales is one of those things, when you get good, they start throwing money at you, man. They start throwing accelerators. They start throwing bonuses. They start throwing spiffs at you just because you're good at sales, and they want you to sell more. They want you to bring in more revenue. Sales is so important because it's the bloodline to the company. Without sales, they get no money. So if you're money motivated, just say that. That was one of the things that caught my eye about sales, is the amount of money that you can get. If it's you want to help people, say that. Write down 2 to 3 reasons why you want to work in sales. The next question: what made you decide to become a sales development representative? Write down 2 to 3 reasons why you decided to become a sales development representative. And guys, don't say something silly like, oh, well, I majored in arts and I just wanted to just get a temporary job in sales to see how it works out. Do not say that. Don't say that, because that's going to be a turnoff to them. Like, I would say, hey, I decided to get into sales development representative. Number one, I'm truly passionate about sales and I enjoy helping other people. And I also realized that sales is a very lucrative opportunity to get into, where you get paid for your performance. And I believe in performing great and being one of the top performers so that I can get paid handsomely. I also want to help develop other sales representatives and build a team to where I'm teaching and I'm training other people on how to sell to make a living. I also have a love of technology, and to be able to sell is my dream job. To be able to sell technology software is my dream job. Boom. Why do you think you would be a great fit for the company? They want to know why. Like, this is your time to tell them why you bring value to the company. I believe that I'm going to be a great fit for the company because I have very good work ethic. I go above and beyond to learn the product and to learn the service and to learn how to sell the product and service, and also offer world-class customer experience to every customer that I come in contact with. Boom. So what do you know about the company so far? This is a question that they're going to ask you. So normally I would answer it somewhere along the lines of, I've been following some of the leaders at your organization on LinkedIn, and I've seen a consistent message across the board, and it's about, so like let's say if I am working for, or I have an interview for CrowdStrike, and they're all about security, cybersecurity, stop the breaching. Yeah, and it's all about stopping the breaching and working as a team to make sure that we mitigate, cyber attacks, right? So I just talked about the mission statement too within that question. And I want to help the sales community use and learn the best technologies like the one you offer while contributing to a greater social mission. From my research, I see your company provides a great environment to do that kind of work. Boom. That's what I would say. The infamous walk me through your resume. This is question 5. Walk me through your resume and your background. Guys, they do not want to, they don't want you to read off your resume when they're asking you that question. They have your resume, they can see it. They just want you to just give them an overview, like just tell them your story and what you learned from the positions. So, like for example, let me go to my question, what I have written down. Okay, okay, so they was asked, walk me through your resume, right? And so I would say, in my most recent job experience, I greeted customers and gave them world-class service by helping them get into a new or pre-owned vehicle. I learned a lot about VW, Volkswagen. That's where I used to work at. I learned a lot about VW's different cars and SUVs and how to connect and build trust with the customers. Boom. Before that, now moving on to my next job position, or my prior job position. Before that, I was a direct sales rep at a marketing firm company and got some great experience acquiring new customers through door to door, or person to person, or direct marketing. Building, okay, so let me backtrack. Before that, I was a direct sales rep at a marketing firm company and gained some great experience acquiring new customers through door to door, building customer awareness. By building customer awareness, it was important for me to develop that mental toughness and that resilience and maintain a positive attitude even when external environment was not favorable. I believe that both of these experiences are relevant and set me up for success in a fast-paced role of a customer-facing sales rep. Boom. That's what I would say. That's me walking them through my resume. So I'm giving them, what I learned from that position, the experience that I gained, and most importantly, how that's relevant to the job that I'm interviewing for right now. So how does my past experiences help me to be better and be able to perform at this role? That's essentially what they're looking. That's what they're looking for. They want to be able to see if you can say that very shortly, because they don't want you to read out your resume. They can see it. So if you write down this question and fill out the red mark, like the red spacing and stuff like that, you're gonna have a pretty good, solid answer. It gets to the point too. Okay, so question number 6. Tell me about a time when you succeeded and were proud of yourself. So you want to use the STAR method. You want to use the STAR method here. All right. So for example, my STAR method, my question was, well, how I answered this question was, I would say, while I worked at the dealership, I was assigned a difficult, high maintenance customer that a previous sales rep worked with. They weren't able to sell this customer a car for whatever reason. The manager warned me that this customer was going to be difficult. That's the situation. Task. I was asked to help her get a car, will get into a car for all of the money, meaning that I was tasked to get this customer to buy a car on the first or second offer. That's what all the money means. Action. So, when the family came in, I provided them with world-class service and conducted a in-depth needs assessment and personalized the sales experience. I really showed them I cared. Okay? I told them that I was working for them, and I got to know I got to know them more and build a stronger relationship with them. Result. So that's what I did. The result, I was able to close the deal for all of the money, and I got them to buy accessories. So obviously I'm proud of myself for that. Why? Because this was supposed to be a difficult customer. This was supposed to be a customer that had already blown out the dealership prior to coming back again with another rep. So the fact that I was able to help this customer really speaks to my skill set and how I'm able to have a high emotional intelligence and a good interpersonal communications skill set. Okay, so tell me about question 7. Tell me about a time when you failed. Again, you want to use the STAR method. So you want to think about a time where you failed, but how were you able to get back up and get better? So, and then, I tell them, like, for example, for this question, I would say, I was put in a situation where I needed to build a team in order to get promoted to a market manager. This was from one of my previous job experiences. So in this situation, right before I was about to get promoted, my whole entire team quit. And so I wasn't able to get promoted at that time. So that's the situation. Right before I was about to get promoted, my team quit. I was tasked with having to build a whole nother team in order to get promoted. So what I did was I went back to the drawing board and really reflected on how I could have been a better leader, what they needed from me, how can I be more relatable, how can I teach them how to get out there and make money. So what I did was I was able to help them out, get them to be more systematic and stick with the sales system. As a result, I was able to build my team back up within 2 months and be able to get promoted to a market manager. So boom, that's how I would answer that question. So what do you think your biggest, number 8, what do you think your biggest challenge would be in the first 3 months as an SDR? So with this question, you really want to acknowledge the fact that this is a difficult role, and state the biggest challenge that you have and how do you plan on overcoming it. So for example, I'm an overthinker and I overthink things, and I get in my own way a lot just from overthinking different possibilities and stuff like that. And I admit that. And I told them, when I first start out, I want to learn a lot. But when I learn a lot, I start overthinking and getting in my own way and not making it simple anymore. So a challenge that I need to overcome is making sure that I make the process simple. And it would be nice if I can have a manager help me and just check in with me every week to see how I'm doing and making sure that I'm sticking to a simple plan of action. The next question, pitch the company to me. So they're going to, at some point in your interview, they're going to ask you to pitch the company to them. So if you don't have your pitch available and you just wing it, especially if you don't know sales or tech sales like that, they're going to be able to tell. So for example, I put I put this formula that you can use. So you want to use the company's name, what that company helps with, and what their product does to help buyers solve their problem, or what their product does to help buyers solve their problem, and describe the solution. Okay. So, for example, I had an interview with a company named Ringba, and this is what I said because they asked me to pitch. I said, Ringba helps all businesses solve their problem by finding customers that want their product or service, and by providing a inbound call tracking and analytics platform for businesses, call centers, and marketing firms. So that's an example that you can use. So it's really just plug and play. So what is most important for you in your next role? Talk about what's important for you and what you're looking to get in your next role. I know what's important for me was growth, being able to move up the corporate ladder and get promoted to an account executive and a sales manager, leading a team. It's also work-life balance, being able to have my weekends off and being able to have flexible work schedules. And then just being in a competitively friendly, helpful work environment where we're always uplifting each other, where it's not toxic. So those are the things that I'm looking for. That's what's most important to me. You write down what's ever most important to you. And then, how would your previous manager describe you? So this is really an easy question to answer. Just don't ramble on too much. Just write down maybe 1 to 2 sentences about how your manager would describe you. Like, for example, I would say something along the lines is, they'd say that I'm really great at building interpersonal relationships. For example, at my previous employment, I was with a customer and my sales manager came by to speak with them, and the customer was like, "Yeah, we really love Maury. We learned so much about her. And did you know she has 21 siblings?" And so my manager's like, "No, I didn't know that." When I went back into the office, he's like, "Wow, you're really good at building interpersonal relationships with people. Like, for example, everybody that you sold a car to, they really enjoyed working with you, and they really felt comfortable with your service. They don't think that you're too pushy, that you're very, very helpful, and we appreciate that." So obviously I'm good at interpersonal communications. So it was very cool. But think about something that your previous manager would use to describe you. So if you're a go-getter, if you have a great work ethic, if you are all about helping your coworkers out, say that. Okay? So these are the 11 questions that you will probably be asked. There's nothing really crazy, guys. Just write these down. Really write down your answers and how you answer this, and practice. The more you practice, the more able you'll be able to get rid of those filler words, go with the flow of your conversation, and clearly and confidently articulate yourself to answer these questions. Okay, so speaking of that, you want to do mock interviews. Go practice on as many mock interviews as you need until it just feels like just repetitive. Good. If you need to do mock interviews and you don't have nobody, you can reach out to me, put a time on my calendar so you can do a mock interview. For example, when I was going through interviews and getting ready for different interviews, I didn't have anybody I can go on mock interviews with. So I would just talk to myself in the mirror. I would record myself talking and answering questions. It's cringing thinking about it, but it really helped me out. So you may have to do that. Practice. Bonus tip, So I'm going to put in the link, in the description, if you made it this far, congratulations. I'm going to put a link in the description about how to do this part. So prior to going to the interview, this is really going to help you stand out because so many candidates are not doing this. Go into the interview already have done your research on who the company buyer persona and their ideal customer profile is. And you want to prepare a contact list plus a cold call, a cold call and a cold email template already ready to present to the interviewers. If you do this right here, you're going to blow their mind. Why? Because they didn't have to tell you to do it. You already did it. So, yes, it's going to take some time for you to put that together. Fortunately, you are going to have a template that you could easily follow. So there's really no excuse. You want to find like 4 to 5 contact people or people to contact within the company. Similar to the interview process. So you want to find out what the company's ideal customer profile is, meaning what kind of people they're looking for that can benefit for their product or service. And then the buyer persona is who makes that determining factor in that company. Who has your money? So who makes that decision? So for example, if your company, the company that you're interviewing for sells a human resource software, then obviously you want to go to recruiting companies, or you want to go to companies and your ideal customer persona would be the recruiting department. Now, your buyer's persona will be a specific person in that company. So for example, if I'm going to a recruiting company, I want to reach out to who like what kind of people in that company would I want to reach out to? Well, the HR department, the finance department. Same thing for if I'm just reaching out to just a company, but they do have a human resource department. Well, I want to reach out to the human resource department, preferably somebody that has 5+ years of experience in the company. I also want to reach out to the finance people, who's in charge of the budget. So once you find out those people, you want to prepare a contact list, and then to put the icing on the cake, you want to prepare a cold call email, and then to go ahead and put that cherry on top of the icing, you want to do a cold call template already ready before you even go to the second round interview. And then at the end of the interview, just ask them, hey, can I present this to you if we have time? Or you want to just ask them at the beginning, hey, we have time after this interview, may I present my list of ideal customer profiles as well as buyer personas, and can I present to you my cold call email and my cold email and my cold call template, and see what they say. When you present that to them, that's gonna get them excited because nobody's doing that. So just a little bonus tip. I'm gonna put that down below. And it was a pleasure making this video for y'all. So if you don't have any sales experience, you don't have any tech experience, make sure that you go down below, go to Course Careers. I left my discount link, my discount code down there. Just click on the link. You'll be able to save $50 and get you that education. Get educated. Get educated in this and be ready. And with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.